Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Luke Merrick Show. I am Luke Merrick, and the premise of our show is to, quote unquote, leave a message. So I always bring someone in the chair next to me to have a conversation together, talk a little bit about our own testimonies, and give you a lot of information about our Christian walk and where we are and where we're going, and the things that we've tripped over along the way, how we've come back, how we stood up after that fall, and really just dig a little bit deeper so that people out there that have the same questions or the same falls, so they don't stay falling, get back up, get back running, but always staying in the light, focused on going in the right direction so that you don't trip back. You know, if we're going to take 3 steps forward, 1 back isn't so bad, but always get the more positive steps forward. So today's episode, I have a really good friend of mine here is Pastor Doug Chapman, who I don't know if that's his title that he wants to be called. We could just call him Philip. We'll go very formal here with me. Get him a pipe that he can smoke here. This is Philip. But I'll start this off with Doug is a very good friend of mine, and one of the first people that I was introduced to that when I was saved, that was part of me being saved. The first service, I said this in another episode, the first service that I ever went to at church that really brought me back to Jesus, from being brought up in a Catholic church and not having a relationship, was going to a night service where Doug talked. And that was something that really hit with me, has always stayed with me over the years. So Doug, give us a little bit more about Philip, Doug, Pastor, Chaplain.
All right. Thanks, Luke, for having me on. Not sure why I'm here, but I trust him. So here we are. Who I am, I'm a hot mess in a really good kind of way. The Philip Doug joke is because my full name is Philip Douglas, but I go by Doug. But nobody knows why. It's a weird family thing. All my uncles and cousins. So that's just the start of the mess. A couple things about me, details you might want to know about. I'm a Metro Detroit kid who has been transplanted to Pennsylvania in 2002. I've been blessed to be married for 20 years. I've got 6 kids. I'm a grandpa to 2. Adoption's kind of fun. That's where we might get into that. Currently working in construction to pay the bills, but I am in the military. I'm in the National Guard. I'm a chaplain. I've been a pastor. I'm currently an elder at a church, and kind of excited for this, partly because a conversation that my wife and I have been having relative to guys is women are really good at going deep. Guys are really good at proximity relationships. And I have been searching for depth. And I know, Luke, we've had depth in our friendship. And when Luke asked about this, and he even said, are there anything off the table? I'm like, no, there's not, because I'm 48. I've been around a while to know, I really don't know as much as I think I did, and realize who I was, 20 years ago isn't who I am now. And needing to kind of learn and adjust and shift, and what worked for me as a high school kid or a college kid or young professional doesn't work now. And so this is exciting for me because this is depth. And I hope, whoever's y'all that are listening, checking in, that you're comforted by the depth. I have no idea where it's going to go or, what the questions are. I might not give you all the gory details, but my life is an open story, partly because of a desire. I mean, guys, we need depth. We're really good at the proximity stuff. We can talk the sports. We can talk the jobs. We can talk our favorite teams. We can talk about sitting with our white sneakers and watching some other guy mow the lawn, because that's what.
But we don't talk about crying.
But we don't talk about hurt. We don't talk about, and we need to. And so I just. Man, this is your show. I'm privileged to be here. I'm honored to be here. Holy Spirit, lead, guide. This discussion. I'm really good as a hype guy, but that hype only lasts as long as the hype is there. But if Holy Spirit's in it, then that's something that lasts and lasts. So Holy Spirit, welcome you into this, and man, this is your show and your gig. So let's have some fun.
It's awesome, Doug, and I appreciate you coming. And really, that is what it's about, because this is unedited and pure, and it's not, it's not a book of questions. Yeah. It's what's ever going to come to my head. One thing that I don't want to say that I dislike about going to some services, but if I walk into a service and the first thing they say is, we're in part of an 8-week program and here's what we're going to do,
I don't combat that. I'll listen,
Right.
but sometimes I think that things that are pre-planned, and you don't leave room for the Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
You don't leave room for that. Now, if you have something pre-planned and something hits you and you stop that plan and you jump on the Holy Spirit, you go with it, then by all means, take it and go. And I think that's, a broader scope of it. But I think one of the big questions that I have for people that are going to sit with me is, right now we're sitting here. We both claim to be Christians.
Mm-hmm.
We both go to, service. You preach sometimes at service. But can we go back to, how did we get to where we are? You grew up with a good Christian family,
right?
Your parents.
Right.
So in that, and obviously you have children, you have adopted children, you taught them the same thing. But give me a little bit about you in the past of maybe not being so Christian,
right?
Or maybe stepping away, and who pulled you back in?
Right.
Where was that? When we look at the Catholic part of it, where as soon as an infant is born, they water, baptize it, drizzle a little bit, pray, you're baptized. But we both believe in full immersion, to come out of the water to be baptized. So where in your life, where did that happen? How did that happen? And give me a little bit more so that shows where that depth came from, where the Holy Spirit, grabbed you.
Well, I'm going to go right to uncomfortability. And what I mean by that is, like, my testimony does not look that glorious. Like, one of the fallacies in church, man, you get up there and, man, I was this and I was that and I did the thing with the and you're like, whoa. And it's, guys, we do it ourselves. We're so easy to diminish ourselves. And I found even when it comes to testimonies, we do that. So I want to preface and maybe free somebody up. Like, what God has done in you is what God has done in you. Don't diminish it because you're not as bad or it's not as glorious as somebody else. And I'll explain what I mean. So I grew up in a pastor's home. My dad was a third-generation pastor. To his credit, my mom's credit, they did a great job raising me. Very much tried to isolate the struggles and difficulties of church. So let our family be our family. I mean, we lived right next door to the church. My dad and my mom made a point. One of them was at every sports event that my sister and I did, because they very much believed in it's God, family, and then ministry. There's sometimes when ministry and family flip-flop, but the part that stinks is that makes my rebellion that much more stupid, because it was all me.
You were the priority.
They did a good job. We didn't have much. I didn't realize how little we had until I became a parent. But I always had food. I wasn't steak and lobster. I always had, shoes on. I mean, I was wearing Champion back in the day because Champion was the cheap brand. Now it's like, it's so weird.
It's high end.
Like, I was, I had clothes. My parents were present. They were not perfect. Lots of unresolved trauma in their life. But overall, so where I'm going is that the summer in between my junior and senior year, I was on, and people who know me make fun of me because I was on the fourth step from the top of my stairs. It was a Sunday afternoon after church, and I was filled with rage and anger, and I just lashed out at God. I full sent all the stuff because I was living a lie. Who I was at church and home was different from who I was at school. I had projected myself. I was extremely cunning, manipulative, and I didn't know who I was. And so I lashed out and profanely, the whole thing, and I waited for God to zap me, genuinely, because I'm like, there is no way God is going to let someone run his mouth like this. And the fact that he didn't kill me messed me up. It genuinely,
one of those, Lord, strike me now if you're real.
I double middle fingered God, my family, the whole night, because I didn't know who I was. I was so caught up in the lies that I was living and the manipulation. And the fact that he didn't messed me up, and it put me on a journey where I began to search religions. And because there's something out there, like we are designed and created. We can't fix it. There's more to just me. And I was able to prove every religion wrong except for Jesus. And yes, I grew up in a pastor's home. The deacons, those were all influences, but I at that point took ownership. Now, my parents said when I was 5, I did this stand on my seat, raise my hand, I said abuse in my. But that's when I took ownership of my faith, and this God, this Jesus, became real, and I began to work it out. And it was ugly, and it was difficult, and it was hard because Jeff Grinnell, a friend of mine, ministry guy, in one of his books, it says that, can you be blank and come to Jesus? And he's like, yes. Can you stay that way? No, because it's about becoming like him. So the Lord there was I was so manipulative. Most people who know me are like, no, because I was good. I could flip the switch. I could put on the front. I could play the church. I could play the family. But inside me, there was rage. There was deep seated anger. I was manipulative. I had, I predate the internet, and found the joys of a beauty of a woman and the access that was now on the internet. And I was working through this identity and was not balancing the beauty of God's creation and sexuality with women. I was totally into the perverse lie side of it. So I'm wrestling with rage and anger, lack of identity. Pornography was there.
So now you're all single at this time. This is like high school.
This is high school and the college.
Okay.
And this is high school and the college, as God has said, hey, I want you working with high schoolers and college students as their family. Where I'm in college at a Bible college, working on ministry stuff, all while the Lord is working to pull these things out of me that were not like him, that did not reflect him well. That was very much, I've seen the depth and depravity of Doug. I'm not a good dude, left to my own devices. And I challenge people like, oh yeah, I'm a good person. Okay, we can do good stuff. But at the end of the day, I think we're all just selfish human beings, and push comes to shove. If given the left and right limits, I'm just going to do whatever works for me, feels good for me. Doug first.
It's funny you say that, because I did an episode the other day where I said, almost kind of, not to steal your thunder on it, but I take the same thing that you say, is that pastors used to say, no one can trump your vice. Because it's yours.
Yeah.
Just like no one can trump your testimony, like you're saying, because it's yours. Yeah. It's yours. It's your pure, it's your truth, it's your part of you that nobody can challenge, because you know it. It's not written down in a book somewhere where somebody can debate it and go, let me tell you about this.
Right.
But what I said about, my thing, I'm the youngest of 6 children. I didn't grow up in a Christian home, but I grew up in a Catholic home.
Sure.
So we went to church every Sunday. I was an altar boy, went to 12 years of Catholic school. Every one of us, my parents are an intact family, great parents, great brothers and sisters. But when left to my own decisions, and, exactly. And I said it, that if I would have communicated with others, whether it was my family or friends, my ideas, they would go, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So then I had to wait until my consequences came from my actions, and then I had to listen to, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So taking that, I think is kind of the same thing as what you're saying. Any one of us, you put yourself without an influence, whether that be good or bad, you're most likely going to come up with bad, especially if that's what you're already inherited to think. And you sit filled with rage and filled with those things. If you're on your own, that's what you're going to do. Yeah. But even on our own, I think now where we are in our walk, being in our Christ walk where we are, if we were alone, I think we wouldn't be alone. We would have, him to fall back on. 100%. Better off now, but it's still at the same time, we're both 48. And having that, time to realize that even at 48, I still got growth ahead of me.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not this anymore, but I'm not that yet either. I got a lot more to go. So go ahead. So you're in this Bible college.
I'm and very much the Lord is having to pull stuff out of me. Like, I miss the still small voice of God all the time. So he's like, okay, 2x4. And really, I got to the point where I got tired of getting beaten over the head with it. And I didn't have much depth in my life. I didn't have, one of the struggles of people in ministry is you become insulated because you're the pastor's kid, or you're this, and you're supposed to have all the answers. Like, even now, like, I love you, appreciate you. I hate the pastor thing, because it's been a struggle, because a lot of guys, when I go deep, it freaks them out, because I'm the guy who's supposed to have all the answers. I'm the I'm the reverend, the pastor, the chaplain. I have the degrees. I
Yeah.
have the like.
But you're a man. I'm a man.
human.
We're the
Like,
same. You know.
I read this and I understand some of it, but not all of it, and I struggle and like. Right now, I'm in a season where I'm probably the most stressed out I've ever been in my life, which is difficult because it's pretty much all good stuff. But scripture says don't go weary doing good. So there's the possibility to become weary doing, and I feel that. And I found that in that stressed outness, it is really easy for the super direct. That's a revelation. Have hard conversations with people. I realize I just raised my voice. But I want, like, and the reason why I say have hard conversations is Mandy and I, we've been married 20 years. We are probably closer now than we have been in our entire marriage, partly because 3 years ago we weren't close. We were just used to doing what we were doing and what worked and didn't realize, hey, you are now a different person. I'm a different person, all this kind of stuff. When we got to the place we were willing to have hard conversations and willing to listen and not instantaneously put up
A wall and fight. Yeah.
You're coming at me. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Tell you something about you don't know.
Yeah. And so I'm in the National Guard. So I go away to drill, come back. One of the things I love about the military is everything's direct. And most people find this bizarre. I love direct. They're like, you talk all the time and you often talk in circles. And I'm like, yes, because people are more comfortable with that kind of, I prefer direct. But Mandy's like, when you come home from drill, you're not a fun human being. And I'm like,
you're still in direct mode?
I'm in direct mode, but the problem with direct is often it doesn't build relationship.
It's harsh. It's cutting.
It can be. And so I found in this stressed outness that it is so easy for me just with the kids, with Mandy, just to go right direct or right harsh or right to, and while there's a time or place for that, most of our families need the default needs to be relational. Now there's a balance.
And I think in defense to that, when you say direct, that it's not to stop you in the middle of it, but I hear it and it's your tone, or the way you're delivering and what you're doing. There's no malice in your way, but man, you're spitting fire and bullets are coming out, and that's how they're seeing it. And you're going, what? I'm just telling you. I could totally hear where you're coming from.
And in my stressed outness, I have to be super mindful because it's really easy for me just to call out the stupid and not restore. And that's another thing that we've had to learn, like from a justice standpoint of raising kids and everything. Justice in the gospel is restorative. It's not punitive. But just from a society standpoint, we have a punitive judicial system.
Punishment, and that's it.
That's it. So the restoration piece. And so I don't know why I'm just spitballing. You're welcome to the party that's on my head. It's really fun.
Well, no, I'll pick up because I think you'll feed in. We'll feed off of each other. I think that is a great point about the punishment because I tried to do an episode actually interviewing myself and to get my testimony out there because I didn't want to steal other people's. So people that see that will kind of have a chuckle about it.
That's
but
awesome.
In that, I talk about going to prison.
Yeah.
And one thing that I noticed in prison was there was nothing of relationship. There was nothing of how to fix. Yeah. Now, there were lots of people that told you, you're not a criminal, you're a human being.
Right.
You got caught doing a criminal act.
Right.
Okay? But that only goes as far as you take it.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person's not going to take it, you're not going to do anything. People are just looking to get out of prison. Or there's guys that are comfortable staying in there.
Right.
But it's a punishment. They accept their punishment. They sit there, do their time, take whatever it is. Yeah. They call it 3 hots and a cot. Yep. You're getting 3 hot meals. You're getting medical care. There's a gym to work out in. You see guys coming in there like it's a hotel. They're like, "Hey, dog, how are you? I haven't seen you in a couple months. Oh, what'd you do now?" But there's no rebuild. Right. Even when I got out of prison, they put us in, and I have absolutely nothing against the 12-step program. I think 12-step programs are fantastic. I think one thing that they're missing is that everything in a 12-step program is biblical, except the fact that they don't say it's biblical.
Correct. Yep.
And I don't know if they do that because they don't want to scare people away or whatever the reasoning is. but a 12-step program, every step is biblical. And if they would just put Jesus in there, in my opinion, those people that go through the program would not, what they call it, revisitate, would not fall back into something. So I think being punished, yes, we need to be punished. I had a wake-up call when I was punished. Right. All right, I was saved before I went to prison. And when I was in prison, I went to the commissary and I got myself a sweatshirt, got a pen, and I wrote Jesus Freak on the back of my shirt. You don't realize how many people stayed so far away from me in the line for chow. Nobody wanted to be near you.
Okay.
I went to Bible studies every Tuesday night in prison, and I loved it. I thought I was going with a group of guys to actually talk about the Bible. There was a pastor there. I'm like, this is going to be great. They didn't go for Bible. They got to get out of the cell. That was it. There was one or two guys that we could bounce stuff off, but out of 20 guys, and it says if one was saved, that's all that matters. But these guys were getting out for the wrong reason. Most of these guys were ripping the pages out of the Bible to roll joints. Wasn't for, they were using it for a different purpose.
No high like the Most High.
I think somebody used that analogy. But those things, restoring goes so much, so much further, and it's all over the place. Society, like you said, judicial system, boom, crack the gavel, here you go. Yeah. Okay, well, how are we going to fix that guy? In our, so many issues with mental stabilities out there. So many different arguments you see with people. Boom, that's it. Just let it go. Like you said, you have an argument, I cut you, get out of my life. That's it. You're done. Or that person walks away, or you just start yelling at each other. What about the communication? We're on hard times with what happened with Charlie Kirk, but you couldn't get a better situation with a man to sit down and talk. Yeah. Sit and talk. I'm not going to argue with you. We're going to talk. You never argue with anyone. You say your part. I say my part. I would say 9 times out of 10, there was anger on the other side, and they walked away from him, totally unresolved. Right. But he gave everything out, and people don't like it. It's very easy online, like you said. We grew up before the internet. Very easy now. I don't like you. Send, delete. You're gone. Never have to see you again. Yeah. So I think the restorative part is huge in so many ways. In your family, with your children, with your wife, with yourself, and number one with God. Because you said we can cause those problems. You're looked at as, there's the pastor's kid. High and mighty he is. No, not. And need to be punished and need to be brought to my knees so that I can be humbled. Yeah. And what do? Do I stay there? No, I don't hide behind that. I'm the pastor's kid. I'm fantastic, but I'm over here doing this. So no, I've got to show the better side and not the twisted part. Like you said, you study all these religions, so there's got to be something. What is it? It's the puzzle piece missing inside. Yeah. And you got to find that Jesus spot and put him in there. Yeah. So college tore you apart. You got pulled on your heartstrings, and then when did
God was gracious, figured it out, jumped in ministry, got connected with some people who could hold me accountable, that I could look up to kind of that were my parents, because
nobody wants to talk to their parents, right?
I mean, yes and no, but it's hard because it's your mom and dad, and there's a tension there. So I was able to connect with some guys that I could have some depth there and really wrestle with things, and jumped into ministry, got some mentorship, toured around, college finished, and then I kind of went into a waiting period and didn't even realize it, because it was about 3 years before the Lord actually, and timing sucks.
For what we think.
For just in my human understanding of what the Lord does. Understanding his timing is hard. Understanding why he doesn't answer my questions is hard. It's truly trusting, and I immediately thought, Jason Johnson wrote a book, Reframing Foster Care. If you're thinking about foster care, adoption, an absolute must read. And he talks about the grace of God in not answering our questions. And he writes, and I'm just going to really make it short, his daughter was younger, maybe middle school, was given the opportunity to write a research paper. And one night he hears wailing upstairs and runs up, because it was kind of the weeping that, dad's like, wait a minute, something's going on, and finds his daughter just uncontrollably sobbing. Well, for a research paper, she didn't pick dolphins. She didn't pick, dresses in the Victorian era, nothing inherently girly. She chose Adolf Hitler. And so she's researching Adolf Hitler, and she comes with to the understanding of all that he's done. And she doesn't have the capacity to understand it. and like she's overloaded, and so she's weeping. And what Jason talks about is how God often withholds knowledge from us as a form of grace because we're not ready for it. We don't have the capacity to understand it yet. And that's a hard part about faith that I'm comfortable saying okay, but I still don't like.
Don't like it.
Because I want him to answer in my. And so I had this clear sense of direction and what was going on, and thought I had it because I was volunteering at a church. I was with a girl. Things were moving towards marriage. Had everything lined up. I had a really great job. And then I found out in a probably about 2-week period, I was in the hospital because I almost died. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had to step away from the church. And I was like, okay, God, you're 2x4. All right. Okay. And I found out in that moment that I was still very much still trying to do Doug. I was trying to figure everything out instead of trusting and in the waiting, being present. And it took him literally stripping everything away to say, God, what do you want? What do you got? And he just went through my life and says, hey, these are the things where you're going, you still have to take care of. I can't put you there dealing with these things. So spent some time doing a really cushy job, which is kind of fun because I worked for Mercedes. I was a detail guy, and I met some really cool people and worked on some really expensive cars, but it gave me time to reflect and work on me and my faith and the ownership of it. And then I got a phone call out of the blue from July 4th from a pastor in the middle of Mansfield, Pennsylvania, which from a guy from Metro Detroit, if you know Pennsylvania, you went from that. But the crazy part about it is, from the second he called me, there was incredible peace. Even though logically it didn't make sense, from a societal standpoint, it didn't make sense. I'm a big city kid. I'm a Midwest kid. But that's how God works. In the difficulty, when you're doing what he has you to do, there's peace to it.
He makes the uncomfortable comfortable.
He does. And so I packed up, moved everything, moved to Mansfield to spend a couple of years there. I worked for a church, met Mandy there. And then shortly after that, God moved us out to where we are now. And I would love to say that it was all roses. And
after that, right? Yeah,
that's the
fairy tale.
I don't remember the dates. Early 2010s, because now we're early 10s. And I'm going to give all the accolades just from a point of humility. I was at the church in the area. I was at the youth ministry in the area, running a ministry of students that was larger than a lot of churches in the area. I had the wife, I had the kid. So by all of the human stuff, I had it.
By the white picket fence. You had the white picket fence.
I was crushing it.
Colonel Sanders.
I was crushing it. But what I didn't realize is my old nature kicked back. And because of I wasn't balancing everything well, I wasn't taking care of everything well, that the lying and the manipulation and the deceit had just reared its head. And to the point where, thankfully, I got caught. And back to the testimony thing, I got caught lying. Now, the news would not have cared. Pastor lies to congregation. I thank God that I got caught, because I didn't realize how deep I was in it. And I have no idea where my depravity was going. And who knows where that would have been, because I was so deep in my own grasping. I mean, I hurt good people because I promised things and I didn't follow through. I wounded people in church because I didn't, as a leader, I didn't care for them well. And I had to go back. And so thankfully I got caught, but that was hard. I was fully prepared. I offered my resignation. The staff at the time was gracious to be like, all right, let's work in this. Went for counseling. I'm a huge counseling dude. Okay. If you don't believe me, there's a lot tougher, badder dudes who talk about counseling. I can reference those if you need to, but I'm a huge, counseling has a place. And one of the most beneficial counselors in our life didn't love Jesus, which is a weird twist on it. But she helped us through trauma and had knowledge that we needed to know. So I to the point where I was when everything came to light, because I was lying to Mandy, I was lying to the kids, I was lying to leadership, I was lying to the staff I was working with. It was bad. I was manipulated. And again, I go back to my original point. People are like, oh, that's not. You weren't doing drugs. You weren't sleeping around. You weren't.
There's no level of sin.
There were, most people instantaneously do that. I'm like, but you need to understand. My integrity was broken. I was a wretch, a sin-filled man, and everything looked good. And I had kept it up for a while. The breaking point was, I realized that I couldn't do it anymore. There's just a weird moment of clarity where I'm like, I don't want to keep lying anymore. I realized in that moment I was lying. It was everything had come to the full picture was there. And thankfully I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I can't. And I can't explain why that moment and why something sooner, but I'm thankful for that moment. I'm thankful that I got caught. I'm thankful that there was no way to explain it or get around it. And so it was just a complete throw myself on grace. Grace for my wife, for my kids, leadership, staff. And it became a long road because I had to unlearn a lot of habits that I thought were dead in me, that I'm very mindful of now because, man, I'll tell you what, it's easy to lie. It's easy.
You don't have to teach anybody to lie.
The manipulative thing. I mean, and then even, the other day, hard conversation, Mandy was like, recently you've been saying you're going to do these things, and especially with the kids, and it seems like it keeps getting pushed back. And I'm like, I don't like you, but you're right. Frick. Those are those hard conversations because looking back on it, it all started super subtle.
Yeah.
It was just it's
like a lie that goes through the grapevine. Hey, this little lie, little lie, and until somebody walks you through the forest to show you the trees, did you even realize that you were in the forest? And you're like, wow, this is a deep forest. You got a lot going on here.
And that's where, for me, especially with Mandy and some guy, like that accountability, we're like, and there's the trust to say, hey, can I draw your attention to? Because that could left unchecked, man. Who knows?
Trust is tough. Trust is tough, man. Once you break it, because you've planted the seed to the person who you've put the distrust against you.
Mm-hmm.
So now anything you say, it's the boy who cried wolf, and it's everything you say, even though they love you deeply and they want to trust you. That's back here.
Yeah.
The whole forgive and forget. I forgive you.
Yeah.
I don't forget. It's there. If I want to, I won't hold it against you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to question it when, in prayer, that it feels fishy.
Yeah.
My wife, I have, my thing about lying is by omission.
Fair.
I lie by omission. So I don't lie to your face, but I'm not going to tell you the thing that I did that you want to hear. So when you ask me and I'm like, no, nothing, So my lie by omission is still a lie.
Yeah.
But she sees right through it and she knows it. Right. And she'll call me out on it. And sometimes she'll do it right then and there. Mm-hmm. Other times she won't because they're hard conversations.
Yeah.
And those hard conversations take a toll. We have not been married 20 years.
without restoration.
Right.
That's like the hard what Mandy and I found is, you're right, there's a time and place for hard conversations. Often when I want to have the hard conversation, it's not when she wants to. When she wants to, it's not when and so there is an intentionality and a mindfulness of, and often you got to be rested and well fed, which sounds so stupid, but there is biblical principles there, and there's also just basic physiological principles there.
You have to be on the same page because you come home with your heavy load, and then you don't even realize the heavy load that she's already had all day that she wants to unpack on you, and they're two totally different loads.
Yeah.
And then, but you're like, Holy Spirit, I got to give it out now. And it's like, no, it's not the time. Like the whole God, here's the time, here's not the time. And it's like, oh, ooh.
And to that point, just talking about life, Mandy and I, the best we can, we have made Thursday evenings sacred. We've boxed them off. And if it is nothing more than we just, make a campfire. And so it's, that's our date night. And most often, because the kids, and despite our efforts to make profitable, independent human beings, gosh, my kids seem helpless some days. Like,
well, that's good some days, because ours are every day.
I'm like, guys, 2 hours. We're right outside. One of the early on when we first started doing this, our joke was, all right, how long before the kids are going to come out because they need something that's like
they're in the window at the door looking at you, and the Sarah McLachlan song is playing from the SPCA's. They're just staring out the window. Oh, are they coming?
We have had to, because of the goodness and the fullness of life. We've had to, because we've decided, hey, when our kids are grown and gone, we don't want to be strangers, because there's so much effort and good to put into kids to raise them. It's so easy to forget, hey, I've got a wife, I've got a husband, all that. So we have intentionally fenced off. Now, there's a couple weeks where just because the schedule doesn't happen, but for the most part, Thursdays, we have to do us. We have to do us to connect. We have to do us to connect on all the ways, on all the levels, spiritually. But often we found the most productive conversations on Thursday night is because we've been intentional connecting throughout the week. So it's effort.
Yeah.
But I push back on that. My own life, put on all the hats, put on the pastor, put on the chaplain, the elder, the whole thing. We work all the time. We invest in things all the time. But somehow when it comes to relationships and marriage, it's like,
oh, you got to do this. It's like going to church.
We do it all the time. It's a mental shift. And I admit I took, and Mandy and I both announced, we took each other for granted. We had a good thing. It was working. We just kind of let it keep
let
going.
It yeah, this is doing fine. And you're both hurting, but you never told each other.
So that intentionality of, hey, we need to be connecting emotionally, conversationally, physically, spiritually, the whole thing. When we do that, man, it Thursdays, we'll get into stuff. We make a point to get away for a good chunk of time every year for the sake of intentionally investing in each other. Those conversations are so much easier because I can hear, because I'm not defensive. I'm not tit for tat, and we're better off because of it. And so just a verbal just blah with that. Make the time, but also very much be aware that I want to talk now. I need to. But if I send it, like,
write it down,
write it down, or hey, can we talk about later? Can we make a time? Can we schedule? Can we this? Can we? This is important. Or one thing that we've kind of started doing is, what's the face? I love Mandy. She's finally started doing it. I have a very expressive face, and my face says a lot. And recently, when she tries to guess the face, it's not right. And I'm like, please ask what the face means. And it's also an acknowledgement of, hey, what's the face?
I can see something's up.
Yeah.
What is it?
And when you're ready, that communication piece has enabled us to do have hard conversations. And in those hard conversations have brought health to because life is good, but life is hard.
Yeah,
it's
even in the good,
both,
like you
even,
said.
even in the good. Following Jesus is the hardest and most rewarding thing I've ever done, and everything in between. And then right below it is husband. Right below that is father. There. It's all the things. It's wonderful and mind.
The love-hate relationship.
When my home is good, I don't want to be anywhere else. When my home is bad, I can't get far enough away. But sometimes the chaos is me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's coming home from drill, and I am in direct mode, and I want to knife hand everybody because how many times I'm going to tell you this?
I told you already. I used to tell people that one of the greatest things about being married was every day you come home, someone's there. And one of the worst things about being married is every time you come home, someone's there.
Yeah.
And that can go for, again, your wife, your children, whatever day you're having.
Yeah.
You can come home and be like, yes. And then other days come home and go, you're here.
Yeah.
You live here and you're in my space, and I really don't want it there right now. You know, and I think I'm great for that too. The face is a great thing to say, because Gail will come to me and she'll look at me and be like, what's the problem? And it's like, not right now. And, you know, and I'll do the same thing to her. I'll be like, something's up. And she'll just, you know, you get the look. And it's like, well, tell me. And as men, inherently, we want to fix it. So what's the problem? Give it to me. I want to fix it. I want to fix it. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. You can't fix it. Get away. No, I can fix anything because I'm a man. I can do it. What is it? You know, no, you can't. Not at the moment. Get away. You know, but again, that's a hard conversation. It is. And it's not going to get delivered well from either side, you know, and until you step away from it and calm down. So we have not been married 20 years. We're on 6. So we're on a, we can't trump each other's
It's
vice.
the grace of God that we've survived 20 years. We have. It is because of the commitment to each other. Mm-hmm. It's not because of love. It's not because of like.
I have heard that so many times that in marriage there's no love. You know, like there is love to a point, but it's a commitment because you have to work on it.
Yeah.
You know, the whole fairy tale thing is BS. Yeah. It's not typical. Yes, can there be relationships that are better than others? I'm divorced twice. Okay, so can there be better relationships? Yes, but you need to learn from those. And if I look back on those now, I would not probably be in the position I am now if I didn't have those relationships. But those relationships should have never been marriage relationships. Sure. And I should have learned through knowledge of biblical knowledge what being equally yoked with a person is, and how that makes it so much easier to go through a commitment. Jokingly, you know, not biblical, but I come from the restaurant business, so I worked behind the bar a lot and would hear a lot of comical things. And one gentleman used to say that marriage is a great institution for those that like to be institutionalized.
Okay.
You know, and
I'm not going to tell me any of that.
It's comical to say it, but it is true because it's a commitment. You're committed. You're in there. Once you go in there, you have to be, and both have to be. Yeah. And if you're not going to, you know, then you start to fall apart. Yeah. You know, but you need that umbrella or the pinnacle of, you know, the God first. It's the umbrella effect. And if he's not at the top, and then the husband, wife, then the family, you know, then the job, then everything else, you know, underneath that. But this is what rains down on everything. You know, if that doesn't rain over everything, and that's flipped, or any one of those goes up above, if Doug is above God, you're not hearing anything. Yeah. You know, nothing is coming back. Yeah. With that being said, you have your oldest son was he 18, 19 now?
Well, my second oldest. So
that's right. You got Mike.
He's out of the house.
Yeah, he's gone. But you have Isaac is getting married. Yep. So what is that like? We're talking about being married. I mean, where's married? You know, what does he think? Does he come to you and say, Dad, 20 years, really? Am I going to make it that long?
Oh, gosh. Our marriage conversation has been a little bit different. And I take no credit for where I'm going to go. And I don't remember the name of the book. When our kids were going through puberty, we had some good friends whose kids were a little bit older than us. And there's a book about girls and all the stuff that happens and the intent of it. I'm trying to remember the name because it's an awesome book. Is meant to be like a girl's weekend. Go away with your daughter. Go away right before puberty's kind of happening to get ahead of it, to let them know, hey, this is all. Start the conversation before they get there about all the changes of the body and the head and the heart and everything. Well, I'm like, that's an awesome book, but I also have boys, and I'm really not going to take my girls. That's the man's job. And so there was really nothing for guys. So I'm like, okay, did some research, and I essentially kind of created my own thing to do with the kids. And there's 5 different conversations that I've had with my boys over about 3 years, right about when things are starting to happen, because there's some things you don't want to put in their head earlier.
It's the whole information overload. You don't need that yet.
But they need to understand, hey, your body's about to change. Your headspace is about to change. It's normal. It's okay. And in that is girls. And in that is relationships. Our kids joke that we're horrible parents sometimes. It's okay. It's fine. Not meant to be their friend first and foremost, but
right.
Mandy took Isaac out on a date before he started dating. Hey, this is how you need to treat girls with their girls. Hey, this is what I take them out. This is until a guy does a better job at this date than me, don't give him a second one. So we've tried to get ahead of it in the conversation and frame it. This is why it's worth it. Because hopefully Holy Spirit help me, because this is one of my soapboxes. Growing up, I hated how the church told me I couldn't listen to this music. I couldn't go to this place. It was all a bunch of couldn't, can'ts, don't touch. And finally, I literally, and he's dead, Lord bless him, he's with Jesus. I still feel a little bit bad. I yelled at a deacon. I'm like, what the flip can I do? Like, I hated how the church phrased, you have a God who spoke the universe into existence. He knows our thoughts and our beings. And all this faith is, don't do this. And in a moment I'm like, well, tell me what I can do relationally. There's been all the books about, and it's this is why sex is worth waiting for. This is why relationships should be designed and how you honor God. This is the reason.
Give me the why. Yeah.
Here's the goodness in it. The porn conversation. Porn is so effective because it's rooted in truth, but it's a distortion of what is good and right.
The reality part of it.
It's a lie, but it's so easily attracted because it's rooted in goodness. So for the marriage piece with Isaac, we really framed, this is why it's worth it. This is what you should be looking for. This is what it means. Love is easy. Marriage is work. And that's not to diminish marriage. It's just that I frame it. I mean, we're looking at, you got all the stuff, dude. Like this just didn't whammo. It just didn't, you didn't sneeze. There was effort here. There was intentionality here. There was purpose. And out of that comes beauty. I preached a sermon a while ago that resonated with people. Like, chefs make messes all the time. But out of that mess comes something beautiful. You said this was a workshop. You made a mess, but out of the mess comes something beautiful. And often in life, we kind of, my kids, we're back to homeschool. Pray for us. It's hard. And I keep saying, you do hard things all the time. One kid plays soccer. One kid plays volleyball. I've got a couple of musicians. I've got a dancer. Like, you guys do hard things all the time.
Yeah.
You just need to change your thinking about looking at the hard with school or the hard with life. We make messes all the time. Marriage, it's hard.
but you can still get through it.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
Just like there's beauty now. You make a mess chopping up everything, and then now you have this beautiful plated food that tastes amazing and wonderful. That's marriage. It is inherently messy. There is difficulty to it, but there's beauty in it. I can do more because I have someone with me. Now, do I need her? No, but am I better off? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So that's the going to the idea thing where we've kind of phrased it with him. Like, people ask me, how do you feel about your 18-year-old? Isn't he so young? I'm like, we're never really ready for anything.
Wow.
Like, now, to his credit, and to Faith, his fiance's credit, they have, very much slow rolled this. Our joke, she actually ghosted him 3 times. It's a huge family because Isaac, he never was like, I just want to date for. We kind of ruined him, and I don't apologize for that. Like, dude, don't date just to date.
Yeah,
you're gonna things are gonna pop up, man. You don't want to deal with. You're gonna there's dating, marriage is the end goal. So with that in mind,
look in the beginning before you even waste
either
time.
Kind of is this somebody? Get to know them. That's been something that we've preached all the time. Get to know the person. Because when you date someone, you naturally put on your best. You all the time. You put the best. This is what I want to see. But get to know who they are. Get to know the ugly. Get to know the tired.
that's
get
funny.
to know the irritated.
You say you put on your best, and I told you I was divorced twice, and I did that. I remember doing all the bells and whistles and all that stuff. When I met Gail, my wife now, that it was so funny. The first day we met, and we went out. We walked a trail, and we stopped on a bridge. And I told her every detail about me, the messiest. I told her about being in prison, being arrested, all these things, everything. Threw everything at her. There was there was. Here's everything about me. It's a lot of filth. Hope you like it. Throw it at you.
Reasons why you shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. And here we are 6 years later. She stuck around. Well, 8 years. We was married for 6. But yeah. But learning what I went through, it was so much easier to deliver all that, so that she knew where I was coming from. Rather than here's the best of me. Yeah. Do you like it? Okay. Here's a little bit of garbage. You know? Oh, you're still okay? Here's a little bit more. Yeah. You still okay with that? Here's a little bit more. Hey, how about this one? Oh, you like that one? Oh, yeah. You don't like that one. All right. See, rather give it to y'all. And I think that's where we do the cutting part. It probably wasn't my best delivery, you know, with things, but at the time,
evidently.
At the time, it felt like the right thing to do because I had been through relationships where you didn't talk and you didn't know, and then you found out too late, and you're like, "What? Who are you? Yeah, I didn't know that about you. Yeah. That's really you? No." Yeah. And then you find out, and you're like, "Oh, I don't like that at all." Yeah. And that's why I unfortunately didn't make those good choices. Yeah. You know, and I think that goes for anything, any part of your life. You know, I mean, I've gone through. I mean, like I said, I sat here and poured out my testimony on camera and went over things, and you fall into a rut. You know, but you can't stay there. You know, that walk with Christ, whether it's through marriage, you know, you don't want to revert back. You don't want to have that fall. And in marriage, the worst part is bringing the other person down with you.
100%.
You know, I mean, in marriage, you're both going to have ups and downs. You know, Gail's up sometimes and I'm down, and that's great because she could bring me up, and vice versa. You know, and then there's some days where we're both down and we look at each other and go, we got to get away from each other because we're both down. This isn't good. You know,
I love you enough to walk away now
because you know you're like, you want ice cream? I'm like, I want pizza. Let's do both. You know, and we're supposed to be on a health journey, and it's like, get away from each other. You know, behind me, Satan. You know, it's like. So when we're both down there, but when one's up here, it's like, no, let's have, you know, broccoli and let's just go for a walk. And, you know, it's like, sure, I still don't like you, but okay, let's go. So, you know, but we need each other. And that's not only in relational for husband and wives. I think that's when we started this, we talked about men. And that's really what this podcast to me is what I wanted geared to. And I find in doing it, it's almost more for me. Right. Because I need reminding. Yeah. I need to stay on that. And by sharing my testimony every day with someone in that chair and getting theirs, taking that and giving it to an audience of the same, I think that it's worth so much. Yeah. Because, number one, for yourself, looking at anybody that knows you or hears you, you know, and says, it's pastor. I know, you know, his father's pastor. He's pastor. You know, I know that about him. So he's got to be great, you know. And then you hear the bad stuff. It's not that you want to go, I knew it. You're, you know, nobody's good. You hypocrite. Yeah. No. Here's why. You know, here's the explanation. Yeah. Here's why God keeps us at this, you know, spot, or why he's here, or why he hasn't given us all that information, why it's not out of my time. I look back at everything that happened through my life. Each and every dumb decision I made was because of me. God wasn't involved in there. You know, I didn't ask him that was a good idea. I didn't even bring it up to him because he would have said no. When I was saved, finally, and it was after, you know, talking to a friend and coming to your service and sitting there, and that was the first time I again, going back to relationship, learned that there is a relationship with God. Coming through a Catholic, you know, upbringing was where the priest would read, and he would read from the Bible. Then he would go up into this pulpit up on a column, you know, above you and preach to you. Yes. And it was like, all right, and I remember being an altar boy, and the bishop was in town, and I had to sit there, and they gave me his hat, and I was supposed to sit with his hat. And I remember they gave it to me, and I went, put it on. I went like this, and I put it down. man, they were like, you did what? And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and hold it the whole time. There's a table right there.
Right.
And it was like, oh, the Reverend, what? He's a guy he was in the bathroom. Same guy.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't get it. So I was built in a part where I was supposed to have this reverence for a man that was no more a man than I was. Maybe, maybe in his studies, he knew more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I can understand that. He knew more theology. He knew more history. I was young. I can give you that part. But we're all made in the image and likeness of God. So you are no different than I when it comes to that part. God loves us all.
Yep.
Even you see all this stuff out there with Charlie Kirk and these people yelling and people with their demonstrations, and everyone wants to hate and argue, and then one's preaching love and the other one's cursing at him, throwing stuff at him, and it's like, you're not here for love, we're here for love. And it's like, that's not really a love deliverance. I'm not seeing it. So I say that to bring things into light of, we can fall so many times. I went to your service. I realized that there was a relationship to be had, and I wanted it, and I was on fire, and I wanted to learn more, and then it was funny because I remember going back to my mother and saying, your religion's the devil. And I was like, and she was
that wasn't the sermon. The service.
No.
That was Luke Adler.
Exactly. And I was like, that, and she was not happy about that because, they sacrificed, sent us to Catholic school, we went to church, and I was like, I probably didn't deliver that the right way. That's not what I meant, but not the way that I should have.
That's the direct without the relationship.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's funny, too, that relationship, growing up, we never had a Bible in the house. Never.
Yeah.
My mother didn't have a Bible until a couple years ago when I got it for her.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, we went through all of this. And then I started to reflect and think, I went to Catholic school. I remember having priests and nuns teach me and me having questions. And it was like, no, don't ask that. And it's like, but I got a question. This is knowledge. I'm supposed to get knowledge, right? You're teaching me? Yes, but not that. We're not teaching you that. And I remember writing papers and getting like C's and D's. And I'm like, this is a great paper. But it's because I questioned something that they didn't want questioned. And I was like, that's... So then coming to church and being able to ask all the questions you wanted and get all the answers and get all the information was like an overload. And it's like, that's a good... I remember sitting up for weeks at night. I would come home and I would just lay in bed and I would just talk to God.
Right.
And I would just talk, just audibly like this, just God. And I would give his answers back to me and everything. God. So anyway, we're doing this thing and I can't imagine that you would, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And then the next thing I'd be like, it's 4:00. I got to go to bed.
Right,
I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I would do that for weeks. And then I started to fall away from it. And I wouldn't talk to him anymore. I would talk in my own head to myself. And I would make decisions.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't open that Bible anymore. And I wouldn't go to someone. And I wouldn't do that. Yeah. And I'm going to tell a story, and you probably don't remember it, but maybe you do. I showed up at your home. You were outside, and I fell at your feet.
Dude, that's one of the most humbling moments of my life.
Fell at your feet, and I said, if I had hair, I would pour oil on your feet and wipe it off and thought that. And that was a position, and I don't know if you know this or not, but that's because I turned to alcohol that day.
No.
And I was in my own head and myself twisted and did something that I swore I wouldn't do.
Sure.
And when it hit me, it broke me, and I didn't know who to run to.
Right.
And I just showed up because in my head, I couldn't go to him right now.
Yeah.
But I could go to somebody that is on my level.
Same thing.
And I can humble and be humbled.
Yeah.
And was something that hit deep for me.
Yeah.
And that's a fall. That was a fall. That was a trip up. And that wasn't the only time that I had a drink. I stopped. I had another drink. I stopped. There's been times in my life, and I thought that I'd have control over it. I thought I'd have it. And I would try. I'd have not an argument, but I have a discussion with Gail. When we first got together, I didn't drink. I didn't have anything. And I told her I don't drink. She said it's fantastic. I don't drink either. And it was like, then it was over. I'm going to have a drink, and we would. And it was whatever. It would move on. It was nothing. It was a glass of wine. Then next thing you know, I'm in my own head again.
Yeah. And
I'm having more drinks.
Yep.
And I'm having something else.
Yeah.
And then it's affecting her. It's affecting our relationship. And I'm not hearing it. I'm getting the face. And it's like, well, what's with the face? I'm not bothering anybody. Who am I bothering? Yeah. And if you can't do something to realize that who you're affecting, then you said manipulation, lie, affects so many more people in that chain. We're all linked together, and you don't realize it. You're just in your own head, and it's like, well, this is me. Yeah. This is me. What's not bothering you? Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is bothered. And until you had that deep conversation, you realize how much it bothers somebody else. The relationship stuff and the things that we're able to talk about is so deep and so in depth. Mm-hmm. And if you can't have that with someone, and it hurts me to know that day I came to you, I never told you what the reason was until this, and that was several years ago. But we never had that conversation. Right. I did what I needed to do in my head, but I still didn't complete what my wife calls it. Gail says I need to come full circle or complete the circle. Yeah. So when she asks me something in my head, I answered it, but I never gave her the answer. Right. And then she'll be like, "Well, you didn't tell me." In my head, I did. Yeah. Or I gave you a vague answer, but And so now I ask her, and I'm very sarcastic too. So now when I talk to her, I say to her, "Did I close the loop?" And she'll look at me and be like, "No, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I just want to make sure that I'm running the line here." And I will stop it over time. This is fresh, so I just want to make sure that I'm completing the loop. And then when I am, once I know that I'm running it, I got a good thing going. Then I probably won't ask as much, So, but being sarcastic, again, that delivery, it's the whole thing of untruth. I'm so sarcastic that when I say something, it's like, "Oh, you're sarcastic." The same thing of having trust. Once you plant that seed, I know she doesn't trust me. I know that it's an issue. Absolutely. And unfortunately, I put that there. Right. And it takes time to build that back. Right. So, I think I really pray with Isaac. Can we say Faith is her name? Yeah. That's a great name. Yeah.
Spelled weird, but it's okay.
That's all right. We won't hold it against her. That's right. She'll come around.
Yeah.
But that's, it's so amazing. I don't think it's bad at all to say, "Oh, you think he's young? He's 18? I mean, my parents were married when they were 16, 17 years old. That's what most people started back in the day. Now, when I first got married, I think we were in our upper 20s and stuff. Right. But even then, no matter where your age is in it, as long as you've done the research and and you've put the time and the commitment to come along, it doesn't matter. I agree. You need, as long as you're vested in it and you know that there's a commitment there, that relationship comes together. But I think this conversation went a totally different direction where I thought it was going to, but I love it because I think the relationship part is key in so many different spots, that I think can touch on so many different things for people. Because if you don't have a relationship, number one, again, at the top of the peak or umbrella, however you want to look at that analogy, if God's not the top, nothing else is going to come into play underneath him.
I don't know.
So until you put him first, you next, it's the whole, you need to put on your oxygen mask before you can help somebody else. Yeah. So you need to put God on first before you can give out and pour out in anybody. I remember hearing I don't know if it's a song or something I read, but it said, God likes to use broken vessels because you could pour out onto someone else. And I thought, I like analogies,
I had to, in that vein, I'll hit you another one that I'm chewing on. Trying to bring this because there's a lot.
Little cliff note this.
Yeah, there's a lot. And forgive me, I don't remember the sermon podcast, but the gist of it is a pastor was sharing about how frustrated he was that he constantly struggled and couldn't fix himself. And the other pastor challenged him, that's because the fruit that grows on trees is not for that tree. And when you talk about biblical fruit, that the fruit that you give is for others. And if you try and just consume your own fruit instead of being humble, and receive from others, and I'm like, I don't like that because it forces me to be honest with myself. It forces me to acknowledge there are people that I need to lean on. I am not, you look at gospel is not isolated. Gospel is not all by yourself. Now there are times I tell my infantry guys, I was with an infantry unit as a chaplain, the Army doesn't train you to be in a fight by yourself. The Army at least is going to throw you in it with a team. So you've got 2 to 3 other guys with you. Now there might be times, and this is applicable to men, where you're in it by yourself. There's going to be times on the battlefield where it's entirely possible things have gone haywire and you are the only one working that weapon system. But the Army, by design, is not going to leave you there. They've not trained you to be in the fight by yourself. And if you find yourself in the fight by yourself, they're not going to leave you there. They're going to work. For guys, I use it all the time, and I'm trying to find a civilian example that works as cleanly as that. But like, there are times where you've got to handle it by yourself
until someone comes around. Yeah.
But then, as soon as that help comes, so I've got to be willing to, that broken vessel pouring in, watering somebody else. I've got to be willing to receive that.
Yeah.
And recognize when it's there, and not be so tough. Oh, what was that? Oh, I loved it, and I just forgot it. That we're to be, as men, tough for our families, but gentle with. That the toughness is there, but it's not on them. But it's to protect them. And we as guys, we need to recognize, hey, I don't have to do it all by myself. And in fact, I am worse off if I try and longer than I should do it all by myself. I've got to let that other feed me. I have to be willing to grab that fruit from somebody else and let it nourish and sustain me, instead of me just sucking it up and being tough and all the things and you did that. Because as a guy, then you just dig yourself in a hole and you start digging it, and then you're dead. And you're absolutely right. My health absolutely impacts my wife and kids because of how God has organized and structured it. Not to put pressure, but just acknowledge this is how God has designed it. This is how He's created it to be. So care for yourself.
Yeah. In more ways than one. In more ways than one. Discussion, health, mental health, physical health. I said the other day when I was talking, I said about drinking. I said, you have a drink, whether it's one or too many, whatever it is, that the next day you're probably going to be hungover. You got less money in your pocket. You're probably going to smell like alcohol, so people are going to know that you were up to something. Yeah. You probably made bad choices because it's a mind-altering drug. So all of these things, have taken you away from whatever you're in. Now, if you're a single person, it's taken away from your work. Right. You still have a family. You came from a family. You have friends, and if you've done that outside of there, then you've pushed yourself away from them. If you are married, you've pushed that wife away. Right. If you are married with children, like you said, they've suffered. You don't think it. You don't see it. Right. And that can come from anything. I had this discussion the other day. It wasn't just alcohol. Like you say, you can't trump someone else's vice. If it's pornography and you don't come home because you're sitting, in a dark place somewhere on your own, then you've chose that quote unquote idol over what is supposed to be that pyramid, that umbrella part, and you've put it above when it's first off not even supposed to be there, let alone be above the people, and until we get that pyramid, figured out, I think that's really where it starts. And it gets to be, I'm repetitive about it, but we have to be, because you need to be reminded and you need to lean on each other, especially men, when we don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it at all because it hurts. You don't want to be hurt. You don't want to show weakness. Like you said, you want to be tough. No man wants to be weak. Yes. Nobody wants to be weak, no matter what it is. It's regardless. It doesn't have to be physical. You don't even want to be mentally weak. You want to be able to come to a conversation and have all the. Used to be like, the joke was, I'd love to have a battle of wits with you, but I see you came unprepared. Yeah. It's like, joke and bust and stuff, but guys can do that. And I think a lot of times I use sarcasm as a coping mechanism. 100%. Because if I don't laugh at it, I was talking about being in prison the other day, and I was laughing, and I thought, I need to talk about laughing about it, because I put it in the past and it's a memory for me. But it's not a memory, it's a reality. It happened. I don't want to talk about it, but if I can talk about it and let somebody know that it's not who I am, it's something that I made a mistake and I've gotten past it and I'm moving on. The ugly part about it is that you will have people in your life that will bring up your past several years later. Right. Yeah. So I say that to say this, and I didn't know how this was going to come up or where it was. My wife and I, we have a business, and we had, from my past, someone sent a letter of my past to one of our people that we work with to show them what I did in the past. Sure. The nice part about it was that the people they sent it to were nice enough to show it to me and say, I don't care. And I thought, at first, I was filled with rage, anger, I wanted to scream it from the mountaintops. I wanted to go on the news and go, look at this.
Right.
Look what someone said about me.
Yeah.
You know, and anybody can look me up. I'm Luke Marek. I'll spell it for you. Marek. You know, look it up online. You'll see all that stuff. You'll see the rap sheet. But the part of that rap sheet was there punishment? You're darn right there was.
Yeah.
And I was separated from my wife at the time. I was separated from my children, from my family. Lost a lot. Lost and became bankrupt because of it. You know, I lost a lot.
Yeah.
I was at the bottom. But from those ashes, I've climbed out and done so much more, and realized how much more I am worth out there. And again, going back to relationship, that relationship with him is where it starts. And if you can build that so solid and then overpour your vessel, or because I'm broken, it pours out of me and goes to others, I think it completes on such a level, you know.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm not worried, because people ask me how I think about Isaac, because we've been very diligent in saying, and to the kids, this is the reason for the decisions we make. This is the reason why my anger is the single most detrimental thing to my family. Which people go, look at me and like, I'm like, you have no idea. If Satan is going to tempt me in any capacity, it is my temperament and my anger. That is the quickest, that is the one thing. And I talk about it all the time, because in guys circles, man, we'll talk about alcohol, we'll talk about drugs, we'll talk about porn all day long. I'm like, in a way, can we stop for a second? Can we talk about anger for a minute? Can we talk about pride? Can we talk about ego? Because those are Mandy's going through revelation, because she's
the book or
no. She's hard conversation. She's mind blown that guys compare ourselves to each other all the time, and one of the reasons why we don't go deep is because we compare all the time. And she's trying to wrap her head around it. It's like, no. I'm like, yes. She saw the face, and she asked me what the face was, because she had just talked about, kind of in a circle of friends, that one of her girlfriends said that, her husband was meeting all of her physical needs, all her emotional needs, all the spiritual needs, and I would, like, I immediately began to compare and diminish, and she saw the face, and I'm like,
who is this man?
That should be inspiring, but because of my flesh, I immediately begin to diminish myself. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's one of the reasons why guys don't go deep. Because, man, we will compare ourselves so quick to each other. And I'm just like,
why has he got to be so perfect?
It was guy. And the depth thing, and there it went, and I have no idea what the point of that was. Welcome to the party inside my head. Where the frick was I go with the depth, the story, the wife? I have no idea.
I'll jump on it and say,
So,
I hear you with anger. I think, what I talk about, and one thing that hits me, I can talk about alcohol all day long, I can talk about prison, I can talk about that. One thing that I usually don't talk about is depression.
Yeah.
I have depression. Usually people, again, but that's a weakness. I don't want to talk about that one. Alcohol, that's really easy. I could take, this is not alcohol, but take this, and I can put it over there and walk away from it. That is a material thing. I don't need to ever come to it. I don't need to go to a bar or a liquor store. I don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
Depression, that lives in here.
Yeah.
And if I don't do this,
correct,
or do this with, another person, whether it be family, friends, my wife, this gets... And just stop. And then if you get too deep and you get too locked in,
oh my gosh,
nobody can get in.
Nope.
I already come with a wall because of my past, and my wife knows this very well, that wall is there, and she always says to me, "I can't wait to see you in heaven one day to see what you truly are."
Fair. Yeah.
And it hurts me to hear that, because I know that she's missing a part of me that, for some reason, I can't give, at the moment. So
not faith yet,
right? Yeah. Yet. Oh, there's time. Yeah, and I know, and I think I always say I know I've gotten better, or I feel that I've opened, and I think that I have. But there's still a wall there. There's still tension. And then if I don't, again, I'm going to get in there, and then it's too tight, it's too twisted, and it's too hard to get out.
Yep. And one of the things that I loved about this is the idea of confession. Because in a way, you talk about testimonies of confession. And what I found as a human being, as Doug, and then all the hats, that there's power in confession. There's freedom in it. Now, I frame it with the kids, kind of life. Like when you mess up, it's going to be hard, period. You might as well make it hard working in a positive direction. And when we look at Christ, we look at Scripture, confession, there's freedom in it. And then after confession comes repentance, and then repentance leads to restoration.
Yeah.
Restoration leads to life. And what I found with confession is that's why you asked if anything's on the table. No, I'll talk about anything. That often I found that others, when they hear confession that's heartfelt, not confession trying to brag and look at me and how lost, that they go, there's freedom for them.
Right.
And now they have an ability to be maybe transparent and say, yes, I am struggling, or this is happening in my life.
Hit the nail right on the head.
Because there's freedom in confession, because the enemy, who wants nothing more to steal, kill, and destroy everything, wants us in shame, wants us hidden, wants us quiet, all that stuff. God works with it in light, and that's what I love about this confession. It's huge, it's necessary, but it's risky, because we all have people that we've opened up to. That's another reason why guys, we don't want to talk, because I had this guy and he told my story, or they wrote a letter or whatever. I'm not ever
vulnerable.
I'm just gonna do it all by myself. But that's why we're not meant to be alone, and why you have people that you trust and just like that day when you came over. That was a form of confession, and it was a part of. And there was a time, just story in my life about the power of confession. I was deployed. I was in Egypt. Newsflash: my wife is not the only beautiful woman on the face of the earth, and she knows this story. This is nothing new to her. I think I'm even.
I know this story.
Yeah,
you poured out to a lot of us.
It's called to you. I had spiritually fought temptation and lost in eyes of the flesh all day, and I was exhausted, and I didn't fight for one moment, and popped up my phone and was looking at porn. And when reality hit, it wasn't long. I was like, oh my gosh. And my first thought was, no one's going to know, man. I'm in Egypt. I'm by myself. It will be easier if I don't tell Mandy. And then
conviction got in. And doing what was right, even though I didn't. And the shame and my pride, I'm like, I can't tell her. I can't, but I have to do something. And I knew I couldn't remember if it was you, but I shot a couple of my friends, and I'm like, if I can tell them, it's going to force me to confess and tell Mandy. Yeah, because I'm going to tell Mandy. Yeah, all right. Listen.
Sorry.
Somebody's going to hear that.
Like, I knew, so as much as I didn't want to, there was freedom and liberty in my confession to do the work that was right, because it was going to be hard regardless. And so that's why I blasted it out. And then that enabled me to talk to Mandy, and dude, it wrecked a lot.
Yeah.
And that is not a blame on her. That's not anything on her. That's the consequences of my choices,
of your actions.
It wrecked a lot, and it, in many ways, we are still very much working through. I'll just call it infidelity. Circles were like, oh, it is, it isn't. It is. It just. It wasn't my wife. God created something beautiful, and I chose the cheap imitation because I fought all day. And that's not me excusing anything. It's the power of choice. It's the power of, I have the ability in Christ when temptation says, hey, to run out, to walk, to get out. And I said no. But power of confession. There was life in that confession. And that's the depth that we're talking about. That's the ability to do better things because of relationship, do harder things that are worthwhile, do hard things that require maybe some, you're doing the microgreens thing. And you've got to tear things up a little bit. You got to pull roots up. You got to turn soil over again. it's for me, it's a season of analogies kind of with the family. Like, life is messy at times, but when you do it right, there's beauty that comes from the mess.
Yeah.
There's beauty there's goodness. And then especially you put the God factor on. You put the motivation being Christ, and then he is able to do so much more than we could ever do ourselves. And the relationships, that's just the power of confession. You put that in my head, and that's one of the things that guys, we don't often do well, because it's vulnerable. Because now I'm not advocating that you just you walk up to some dude at Sheets and be like, hey man, make sure it's someone trusted. Make sure, and I prayed through, and the guys that I confessed to originally was super crystal clear, and so don't just blast it out to everybody. Don't trust.
Yeah, you've got to have the right people to fall back on. The people. Certain people that you'll talk to about certain things. Yeah. And the trust is there to have those conversations. Yeah. Doug, I think that we can probably talk for hours. I know. I don't even think that. I know we can talk for hours, but I don't want people to get lost in our conversation. What I'd like to do is kind of wrap it up, and have you come back on again, and we'll do more talk, in the future. But with that being said, I mean, I think we poured out a lot of different things for people. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on? Or would you like to leave something with somebody?
You just said we could talk for hours, and then you wrote.
Well, I guess in closing part of it, with everything that we said, people can find this and get some worth out of it.
Yeah.
But if they don't find the worth in this, what is there something out there that you can point somebody to? Maybe a devotional, maybe somebody, you mentioned a couple people that you relied on. Is there something online? I think online's the greatest place. That's where this is going to be. Right. Because it's easily accessible for people to get to. So
there are two things that immediately come to mind. I don't know them personally either, but one is Maddie Montgomery. For all of you hardcore music fans, For Today guy, lead singer. He's now a pastor in Tennessee. I have listened to his sermons and his podcasts regularly because he gets deep into guy stuff, and is very transparent about his struggles, what he's gone through. And so before, when I didn't have the group of guys that I have now and I felt alone, there was a connection because there was a guy who was willing to go deep, willing to talk about hard things, and be optimistic about it and saying there is hope, there's reason for it. And then also another podcast, Preston and Jackie Hill Perry, incredible couple. Their testimony is absolutely bonkers. They also are willing to get deep. So if you're looking for depth, and that depth is scary because the personal connection, both of their podcasts get deep in those things, and it'll give you a little buffer because it's just you and your headphones or you on the treadmill or the bike. But it was helpful because it I don't want to say it scratched the itch, but it provided depth that I was looking for as I was very much praying and waiting and looking for relational depth going on. So those are just two things.
Awesome.
Recommend Maddie Montgomery and Preston and Jackie Hill Perry.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, listen, guys, that's going to wrap it up for everything that we have to say. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have Doug on again because I know that we can unpack so much more just because we have so many things in common. At the end of every video with everybody, I'm always going to have something to give away to help people in a journey, something tangible, something that you can have. And I got these offline, and I really haven't gone through every one of them, but they are a plan. It's called Christian Mindset Cards. There's 52 of them in here. It's a habit. And I kind of want to use them as a devotional for someone to take the card. And it comes with a little block of wood that you can put this up, put in your bathroom, put it on your desk. Take the card for the week, and take it and read every part of it and reflect on it more than just for the day. And it gives a breakdown of each word from the verse that it was on. So I have a pack of these that I'm going to send out for anybody that likes what they saw today. Comment on our video that you like it, subscribe, and then we'll just put it in a randomizer and let it, come up who we're going to give it to.
Like and subscribe. That's pretty cool.
Sure, I could. Yeah, I bought them and I thought I need this. I want this. I use the Bible app all the time. But again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I know these sometimes are going to go longer than maybe somebody really has. I know one gentleman told me I really don't like a podcast more than like 20 minutes, and this probably isn't going to be that. Or you can listen at it. I never knew this. You can listen to stuff at like 1.5 times or 2 times
My kids do
faster.
it all the time.
Probably for the younger generation, that's always doing this, but that would drive me nuts. But anyway, if you want to listen to it faster, maybe there were some slow times, but tune in, listen to it, like, subscribe, comment to have this sent to you, and we'll see you next time, everybody. God bless.
Quick caveat.
Yeah.
Guys, super simple. If you have access to a treadmill and you're trying to work out and physically, this is the length of the podcast. Maybe think of this. Give yourself 30 minutes a day. Put it on 10 to 12 incline. Do as fast as you can go, 2 or 3 speed. Throw a podcast on and just walk. It's a low impact, but it's a burner, and it's going to help kind of slim you down and also stamina. So for the podcast, because that's what I was doing, it's 30 minutes. Give yourself 30 minutes a day for you, your body, to get it out. So just a thought, jump on a treadmill, 10 to 12 incline, 2 to 3 miles an hour, do 30 minutes, listen to this, because Luke's pretty cool.
Awesome, Doug. Thank you so much, bud. Appreciate it. We'll catch you again. See y'all.